What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, everybody, check it out. We are now in the month of March, and the month of March is the month of Snow White, dropping in 21 days on March 21st. March 20 for those that are going to the Thursday previews. I don't know if anybody's going to see this thing at all, all right? Some of us YouTubers have been making the rounds, and people are being forced by their audiences. I think Valiant Renegade, somebody paid them $500. Hey, go watch Snow White. It's Valiant Renegade. Damn it, I got to do it. Okay, that's how things are going right now when it comes to this movie. People don't want to watch this thing, and as you can see on this headline by Cosmic Book News, it's tracking to be a potential flop. Oh, it's an absolute flop. Nobody's going to watch this. Based on the amount of money that they spent on it, they need to probably crack a billy just to break even. So, yeah, this thing is going to be a gigantic disaster. But, yeah, they're saying that it's tracking to be a flop right now. Look, I had called it from the very beginning. I had said when I was seeing numbers like this from Box Office Pro, $65 to $85 million as the domestic opening weekend, I said that's way too high. That's way too high. I said it at the time. This thing feels like it's somewhere between 50 and 55 million. It's going to crash out somewhere in between those two numbers, you know. But they were trying to give it a chance. They were saying, hey, you know, maybe it gets to 65 to 85. And then they were trying to compare it to some of these other, you know, remake titles. Snow White absolutely should have been in a top 5, you know, position. Not just based on the amount of money they spent on it, but also based on the fact that it is the original Disney princess. And, you know, generations upon generations of people have loved Snow White. It's a classic tale with some of the best music that Disney has ever produced. It should absolutely be somewhere up here in the top 5. You know, multiple generations, grandma, granddaughters, all over the world would have been coming to watch this movie if they did it appropriately. But as we have seen, yeah, they absolutely screwed it up to the point now where it's tracking to do $53 million in its domestic opening weekend, which is absolutely trash. All right. This is on the Hollywood Handle. Snow White is on track to earn a solid $53 million on its domestic box office opening weekend. The film had a $200 million budget. Oh, it had a higher budget than that, bro. It had a much higher budget than that. Yeah, these cats be trying to gaslight, but a solid $53 million. You think $53 million is solid? This thing has a budget somewhere in the neighborhood of $350 million. I guarantee it. And with the marketing that they've been doing, and Disney been pulling out all the stops lately, trying to get this thing marketed, trying to clean up this chick, even with this picture, with her little hands over her heart, trying to look all sweet and innocent. You know, again, they got to clean up her image. And, you know, that's costing extra marketing money. She's going to be on the Oscars this weekend. Still trying to clean up the image. This $200 million, that might have been the original budget for the film. It had, all right, past tense, had, all right? That's the past tense. It had a budget of $200 million. Now that budget has ballooned all the way up to 350 plus, and that's not including marketing. This is on the Hollywood Reporter. That this is where they got the information from. Tracking for a $53 million box office opening. And look, that's just the middle ground, all right? They're saying this thing can go in a range from 48 million to 58 million. Like, what are we doing, Disney? How did you guys drop the ball this bad? This is going to go down as one of the biggest disasters in the history of the Walt Disney Company. Make no mistake about that. This is going to go down as one of the biggest disasters. You decided that you wanted to do a live action remake. You cast a poison pill to play the biggest, most important Disney princess of all. Woo! Man, this thing is going to absolutely be a dumpster fire. I cannot wait to get to it. But yeah, let's go ahead and check out the article from Matt McGloin over on Cosmic Book News. Let's see what he's talking about. At a cost reportedly well over $200 million, box office projections offer the upcoming Rachel Zegler Snow White movie from Disney may bomb. What are the estimates? According to the latest estimates via the Hollywood Reporter, Snow White is tracking to open to $53 million. However, the low side of their tracking happens to be $48 million, and then the high side is $58 million. Imagine that. And again, keep in mind, these are 2025 movie ticket prices. These are 2025 movie ticket prices. So if it crashes out, let's look at this new range of $48 to $58 million. If we were to go back here, all right, to this list and the domestic opening weekends for these movies, all right, now we're talking about this thing up here in Dumbo territory. Woo! Rachel Zegler is in Dumbo territory. All right. That's basically where Rachel is at. Not surprising whatsoever. So tracking for Snow White seems to have gone down, as Box Office Pro just last week said the film was tracking for 65 to 85 million on the opening. And again, I said that was too high. That was way too high for this movie. All the negative press that this thing is getting when you look at the trailers and how they're getting ratioed into oblivion. There's no way in hell that this thing was going to do anywhere close to 60 to 70 to 80 million dollars. It was just going to not do that. All right. Similar to Mufasa and Cinderella. Comparisons are being made to Mufasa the Lion King, which had a similar budget and opened to $35 million in December, yet went on to make $700 million. But see, there's a difference. There's a difference between Mufasa and Snow White for obvious reasons. One, Mufasa is a story that really had not been told yet. Nobody really knew what that story was going to be because it's an original story. Snow White isn't. You know, presumably. Now they're changing it up so much that it damn near might as well be an original story. But technically, it's still the same story that we saw way back in 1937. Evidently so, right? It's the exact same story from back then. So people know the story of Snow White. And it seems like this is going to be the lesser version of that story. So, like, why not just watch the original Snow White? Nobody knew what Mufasa was. You know, so there's a difference of a story there. Mufasa happened to be a sequel prequel to The Lion King, which is huge, while Snow White, you can argue, hasn't had anything going for it since the original animated movie was released in 1937. Mufasa has legs. Does Rachel Zegler, well, I mean, technically Rachel Zegler has legs, but does this argument that they're making here, Snow White hasn't really had anything going for it since the original movie, is that true? You know, where's Snow White on the popularity scale when it comes to overall Disney princesses? That's really the question. So I actually looked that up. This is on a YouGov poll. It says here Cinderella is the most popular Disney princess. Okay, so let me zoom in on that a little bit. Yeah, Cinderella overall number one, as you can see right here on this poll. But look who's number two, Snow White. Snow White is number two. Most popular Disney princesses, Snow White pulls up second. You know, and Snow White and Cinderella, the only two in double digits when it comes to overall U.S. citizens, U.S. adult citizens. I thought this was interesting as well. I mean, from 45 and up, it's pretty much a dead heat. So this is your grandmothers and your mothers coming to take their daughters and their granddaughters and their great-great-granddaughters and all of that. They would be going to the movies, you know, to go and watch this movie. They ain't going to watch Rachel Zegler, all right? They ain't going to watch a entitled, selfish brat get out there playing Snow White and say she's not going to be saved by the prince. This one don't have any romance in it this time. You know, all of that crap, all right? She's here to fight for the kingdom. She's fighting the power and all that crap. That's like, nah. That's not Snow White. That's not Snow White at all. So, yeah, the most popular or the second most popular Disney princess, nobody's coming to watch this movie, and that's the reason why these numbers are trash. Comparisons are also being made to Disney's live-action Cinderella movie released in 2015. However, what sites like The Hollywood Reporter are failing to tell you is that when inflation is factored in, Cinderella's $67.8 million opening in today's dollars are really closer to $100 million. Exactly. It's really closer to $100 million. All right. $90.87 million. So Snow White looks to be tracking around half of that number. Rachel Zegler is definitely going to need good legs. I mean, listen, you come out there and you disrespect the original. You have these ugly CGI monstrosity nightmare-fueled dwarves. You say that the story is changing. She's, you know, the prince is a stalker, weird. You got all of this negativity surrounding the original. Why would anybody go and watch this movie? That's not being paid for by their audiences, all right? Like Valiant Renegade. Why would anybody go out and watch this? Everybody's been having a blast laughing at this entire movie, and it's just going to bomb in the box office. That's just that's it. That's all, man. Will the female audience show up? The female audience, the funny thing is, the female audience, we saw feminists that were coming out hard against Snow White.
The cartoon was made 85 years ago. It's extremely dated.
I've got a feeling that this movie is going to flop so bad. Like, so hard, beyond imaginable. Now, I'm a feminist, so I think you can trust me with this opinion. We do not need remakes where original characters that aren't supposed to become leaders become feminist icons somehow. The whole thing with art and artistic expression is that there should be diverse characters. And when every female character has a feminist icon stamp on her, the whole movie industry becomes boring. It just becomes very predictable.
Oh, Snow White? I fucking hate that doormat of a woman. She deserves no rights. I watched the cartoon once and physically gagged. It is not 1937 anymore. In our version, Snow White actually keeps Prince Charming on a leash. He crawls on all fours at all times. But who knows, Andrew? Your scenes might get cut. It's Hollywood. In our version, the evil queen and Snow White actually have a relationship because she is the leader of her land. And they can join forces to take down every single man in their land. I should be getting paid $1 million an hour for being in that spirit Halloween of a dress for 18 hours on set. 18 hours on set!
I literally hate the movie. I think it's absolute fucking garbage.
Are you talking about something else?
No, I'm talking about Snow White. The funny thing is, I only watched like 2 minutes of the cartoon 20 years ago, and I ended up taking a hammer and breaking my TV because I thought it was so awful.
So does she have a love interest in this movie?
Hell no! This is at 1937, and we're not in a Taylor Swift love song. There is no love story. She's an independent female lead. She ends up joining a pyramid scheme, and she becomes the world's biggest fucking girl boss.
Yeah, so I don't think the female audience is coming at all. I really don't. Disney Snow White is obviously aimed at the female audience. Will they show up? They sure did for Barbie. Guys did too. Disney's Little Mermaid was so-so at a $569 million worldwide box office, but it needed a reportedly $625 million to break even. They sure did show up for the Marvels and Madam Web. Well, again, Marvels and the Madam Web is a different matter because these are comic book properties, and comic book properties appeal to guys more than girls. Even though they tried to girl boss it and make it for the ladies, ultimately women didn't come and show up for it because it's not a girl brand. It's not something women want to watch. Women want to watch Barbie. Women want to watch The Little Mermaid. Women want to watch Snow White. Right? I remember when we reported on this, 70% of the audience for the Marvels were men. 70%. That's who they should have marketed the movie for. They should have put Brie Larson in the hottest outfit they could find. All of it should have been girls. Yeah, that's fine. But make them hot, make them attractive, make it sexy, because that's what the guys would want. All right. Yeah, nobody's coming to watch this. Women, men, you name it. All right. $53 million. That still sounds kind of high, but I'll go with it. All right. I think that's probably, pretty close to fair. Anyway, what do y'all think about this situation, man? I think it's over and done with when it comes to Snow White. I think this entire box office is going to be an absolute disaster. I think that Rachel Zegler's career is pretty much, up in smoke. And she's going to have to rebuild it at this point, probably go to Broadway. She's been out there on Broadway for a while. Stay on Broadway, Rachel Zegler. Work on your acting, because your acting ain't that great. And they'll love you out there on Broadway. They'll say, oh my God, we got a real Hollywood star here on Broadway. Oh, it's a wonderful thing. Yeah, all right, cool. She should stay out there and work on her PR, work on making herself into a better person. And then when she comes back to Hollywood in about 5 to 6 years, maybe then people will start to embrace this lady. But up until that point, I don't think it's happening. All right. She's been an absolute mess this entire time in the box office. It shows it. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about this. Jump down in the comments. Give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.